You have this really powerful story, as you mentioned. And the left often acts and talks like they're representing all minorities or all immigrant communities, especially when they go after President Trump. I get the sense that the Cuban American community doesn't really appreciate that, though. What can you tell us about how Cuban Americans who have escaped these brutal communist regime feel about President Trump's foreign policy and his focus on Cuba?
So we do a lot of work in CPAC Latino as part of our coalition, and one of the things that we have found is obviously the Cuban Americans, the Venezuelan Americans, the Colombian Americans, they all support Donald Trump. I mean, they really believe in his policies. They've seen that he's worked in such I would say, in a aggressive but very positive way in bringing change to the Western Hemisphere. I really believe that this presidency, along with Secretary Marco Rubio, that they have prioritized with the Western Hemisphere. We've seen political changes and to the right in so many of these countries. I mean, we had CPACs in CPAC Mexico. Mexico's a little more complicated. CPAC Argentina with President Javier Milei, which we know is a staunch fighter against the communists in Latin America. And we've done CPAC Paraguay, which actually Santiago Peña is also a right-wing president who is very strong in protecting family and faith and sovereignty in his nation. We've also seen wins in Bolivia, which the right-wing candidate won in Bolivia. We've worked closely with the Chilean president, Jose Antonio Cast, who also just won his election in a couple months ago, and Chile is now under a right-wing government. So you're seeing really, truly the fruits of Donald Trump's, policies, the Donroe doctrine of really moving forward and having conservatives lead these countries as they push back against wokeism that has been part of many of these nations that don't really go at all with their cultural values. We're seeing that they want to have strong economic growth and they want a strong alliance with the US. They don't want a strong alliance with China or with Russia. And I'll tell you, even working with the Argentines, they would tell me that the Chinese would come in to cut deals left and right with them. And they kept going, we want more trade with the US. That's what we want. We don't want trade with China. And just watching that, I think and seeing how these governments are responding, I think is very beneficial for the US.